For the last month or so, Georgia had been running the ball really well coming into the SEC championship game. This is Film Don't Lie, presented by ASW Distillery and Breda Pest Management. I'm Dayne Young. That's Brent Rollins from Pro Football Focus. And Brent, Alabama stopped Georgia from running as a whole in this game. I mean, it was pretty evident when you watched it. When you go back and look at the stat sheet, you're like, they couldn't generate much. This was 2 and 3 a carry, if that.
Dayne was 3.8 a carry, Kendall 3.2 a carry, less than 3 yards a carry after contact, both of them. And the biggest key was Bama did it in their base defense. Like they didn't have to commit extras to the box. Caleb Downs is pretty freaky as a box safety when he comes down there. But for the most part, they just did it in their base defense and played good, solid defense, and you couldn't move. And the injury was a big deal because early on, you could do those things. And we talked about this, I think, when we talked about Georgia's passing attack in another video. Dallas Turner only played 29 snaps in the game, like half the game. Bama went heavy to, in essence, stop your running game. But in the beginning, you got what you wanted. Like, that's just phenomenal work from Mims, Ratledge, Van Pran. Like, that was a crater that they created right there.
We have said a lot on these videos in our post game over the last 24 hours that when Mims went out, things changed for Georgia. Can you kind of give context to that based on your rewatch of the game?
Well, it's just because Bama played the physical, like 92 a lot at edge. Like I think he played almost 90% of the snaps. So thus the level of movement that you got was not as good. And then also from a pass pro standpoint, Mims is just way better.
Yeah,
like there's a reason he's going to be a top 15 or 20 pick in the draft.
Maybe higher if he has
maybe higher, right? You never know. The limited tape might get him in the 15 range, I think, much like Broderick. But he's a first round tackle.
Yeah, and size and strength and speed even. Like he's gonna have all that.
And you think about that. You went from a first round tackle to a not drafted tackle.
Yeah.
Like that's a big difference.
You mentioned Caleb Downs. Woo! This is
player.
Watch him rocket through here. This is a little quick pitch that Georgia tries to get on 3rd and 2, and we'll show you some of the poor blocking. But just as the first run, watch Downs get in there.
Boom. What do the kids say now? He is him.
Yeah.
But this was just Bam almost knew this was coming. They had a numbers advantage here. I would have went zone back the other way. This was in terms of realms of the not greatest calls in the world. This is one because you're about to circle 6 blocking top 15 pick All-American Dallas Turner. Like you're not usually going to win that.
Know your personnel.
Yeah. KYP this one.
Even if you attempt that.
Even if you get a little bit on him, it's not going to be long.
Yeah.
And you still have a number. You're still +1 from a defensive standpoint. You're net -1 from an offensive standpoint. And like I said, this was not one I was overly fond of. You don't have angles. Like you're just trying to get things and you don't have success here.
I mean, Alabama was explosive up front and caused Georgia's offensive linemen to be out of rhythm, get off step, have to force and make plays.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough early on, and Georgia didn't really find rhythm in that.
You take away sacks, 27 carries, 86 yards, 3.2 per attempt.
This next one, we have 2 angles of it here. So we'll start with the sideline.
One, you know how much I hate 2nd and 10 runs. Least efficient playing football. 2, this is like teaching tape defense from Alabama in terms of puller, crunch, spill to the backer, accelerate, and make the play. This is one again. They had your number in certain things within the running game.
Well, and even look at how they're striking at Ratledge here too.
Oh yeah. Boom, physical.
Disrupts everything there. That's what you're saying. And
you're not getting any level of movement. Like there's the pile and there is no other hole elsewhere. And this is one where like look at this in terms of the box numbers, mainly because of your formation. But this is an 8-man box because if you want to count the corner as an outside backer and the walk down star, like because you formation this with both receivers to the right and put Bowers in the backfield, like you've asked there to be heavy numbers in the box on that. Like I wasn't fond of that one.
Know your personnel here again. I guess I'll start. I'm not trashing on him, but Aaron Smith just doesn't do a whole lot on this run play.
No, and this is one. So, on the whole, I don't mind the idea, but you hadn't done anything else to show something different, like in the short yardage situation, and then also a couple things. So, pause it before snap. One, you've got unbalanced line. So Bowers is now your left tackle. Ernest Green is now playing tight end on the right side. I think that kind of threw Rosemary-Jackson off a little bit because I think he thinks he's got to get the edge defender. So pause it right there. So now we have, that would be 1, 2, 3 players blocking Chris Braswell. 41. 30's untouched.
Now, 41's not going to make a play. Promise you that.
And by the way, if that is the plan, if they said, okay, this is what we're going to do and get this edge set or edge guy, Dayne should put his foot in the ground and run right behind their hind end and just find a crease, dive for the first down.
Got to fall
anyway,
somewhere in
and
there.
just hang behind them as long as you can until you get a crease.
Yeah.
If that was the sort of design and plan and say, hey, how are we going to block this? My guess though is that Rosemary-Jackson probably should have got 30. But still, then they still have numbers yet. There's still more numbers because you whiff in 2 areas. That was one that was hard to watch.
Got to pull this way.
This is the reverse and the fumble.
Looks like it's the pull, then it's the fumble.
And so obviously just big picture wise, do you make that call in that sort of place in the field? Okay, fine. Yes, no, whatever. That doesn't bother. The execution part. So Georgia Tech, they ran the same play against Georgia Tech last week. However, against Georgia Tech last week, they were under center. This week, they're in the gun. So how did you practice it? And because last week against Georgia Tech, when Bell got the ball, Beck flipped it to him. Like it was a little quick toss. Whereas this, Beck appears to be more handing it off. By the way, Bell was also, his split was about half of what it was against Tech. He was probably out more so there versus Tech versus a much tighter split. So you've obviously changed this up to make the call in this game. How did you practice it? Did you practice it as a handoff? Because if you did, you don't want to take the handoff that way if you're Bell. Or did you practice it as a semi-flip? And if so, your timing's just off. Because Beck thinks he's got the ball, obviously. He because he's just kind of almost like a finger roll in a way.
Yeah.
Ball off his hands. And, when you think about the game, 3 points. Alabama, Georgia luckily stopped them. Great play by Bullard to stop them. But 3 points, difference in the game.
Yeah, turnover down here made a big difference. I don't know that this was going to be a massive play, but it would have been a positive one.
Yes, positive, yes.
You at least have better numbers in your direction here, but
yep.
You never know what could have happened at this point. But you do know that you can't fumble a ball late in the game against a team of Alabama's quality.
Yep.
Now, this is
fourth down.
Late in the fourth quarter, earlier in this sequence, Georgia got nothing on essentially the same play call, and they just blocked this one better. So I wanted to give a shout out to Michael Morris and Dayne Edwards.
And Van Pran doing a good job of getting his head across right there. Boom, gets his head to the proper side. And this is traditionally with this tight bunch right here. This is Georgia runs duo sort of straight ahead, and Bama played it that way. Good call to go zone the other way because now Morris can come out and then you just create a natural hole. But this, 4th and 1, you don't get it. Your game is in essence in a very bad spot.
Similar situation in the red zone toward the end where probably a minute went off the clock because you couldn't gain a yard here. They finally
tried to go in a hurry and then tried to go in the gun one time. And
finally iteration, they put Michael Morris in at the fullback. Hadn't seen that all year. We've seen the jumbo before. We've seen Jordan Davis there. We've seen Jalen Carter there.
Did we see it once maybe with him?
I don't remember.
I want to say maybe once.
Okay.
But still, great job by him. By the way, traditional old school power, block down, play side guard, Dylan Fairchild on the right, pulls and kicks. Boom. And then Morris becomes the lead guy. and that's how it's run. And you create the wall. Good job on the right side there. It was one where it was a struggle, and it allowed Bama to do a lot of things that they wanted to defensively. And they, like I said, they played their personnel. Coming into this game, Turner played 80% of the snaps. He rarely came off the field.
Yeah.
And he played half the game in this game because they said, all right, we're going to be bigger and we're just going to let him be fresh as can be for pass rush type downs. And then later in the game, they played him more as Georgia went sort of pass heavy.
It may seem like there wasn't a whole lot to show there, but this season, if you talk about the story of Georgia as a whole, the teams that it struggled against the most were the ones that it struggled to run on. They didn't get much of a run established against Auburn consistently. Missouri was very good about slowing down Georgia's running attack. Alabama was a different level. And I think a lot of it's because they didn't have to stack the box the whole time. They did that with pass rush too. And then the quality of their secondary, when they did want to play toward the line of scrimmage, you saw the numbers advantage they had.
And it's one of those things where as an offensive coordinator, there's the balance, right? Do I want to stick with it and maybe get something later in the game out of it because I stick with it, or do you just bail? And this made the game, and you, given the closeness of the game, I could see why they were trying to somewhat stick with the run. The one was the short yardage stuff was just bad.
You can support the people who support Film Don't Lie. That's Breda Pest Management, BredaPest.com, ASW Distilleries. I like their Instagram page. You can get a lot of good ideas and just see the new things that they're working on because it's something new every week at this point, it seems. I love their products. Their tasting rooms around Atlanta are great as well. Well, man, we're about to record one more Film Don't Lie video, but there's 4 in this series for Georgia and Alabama. I talked about Jalen Monroe and what he did. Talked about Georgia's passing game. This is a bit about Georgia's running game, and we'll have one more on Georgia's defensive effort. Some positive things that were there, too, that allowed Georgia to get back in this game, to at least have a shot late. And, yeah, they needed maybe a little bit too much too late. We can talk about that all off season because I think this game's going to have a lot of talking points for a while. Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Breda Pest Management. Thanks, ASW Distillery.